Good day, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. What are we working on today? We have this little, it's the cutest little Montgomery Ward 8-horse lawn tractor that you've ever seen in your whole life. And this thing is actually in really good shape. It still has its original tires on it. I ran the numbers on the engine. The engine was built December 2nd, 1970. Would make this little guy a 71 vintage Montgomery Ward's tractor. Still its original seat without a tear. It had a tiny little bit of spark when you first spin the motor over, and then the spark went away. So I'll show you a couple. There's actually a couple different options for doing a pointless ignition. The first thing I tried was, of course, I pulled the flywheel off and looked at the points. They were a little close. There was only one screw holding the coil down, so I had to add a screw to it and then kind of set the air gap there. And it didn't do any better. It didn't have any spark different when I was done with it than when I started with it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to disconnect the points altogether because I pick up a spare Nova 2 ignition module. I don't know if you're familiar with these. It's upside down because I'm holding it upside down. Let's do it this way, silly. Oh, you know what? It was right side up when I showed it to you. At least the letters are. Nova 2, focus, focus, focus. Anyway, you'll have to trust me on that. Here was the instruction sheet for the Nova 2. That's the part number. And the simple wiring diagram. See there, just cut the points, and that little module right there, you just connect the wire to it and ground the other side, and there you go. So when you turn the switch off, it'll ground both sides, and essentially it won't run. So I stuck the Nova 2 on just with some jumper leads, and I had the exact same result as I had when I first tried to fire it and when I changed the setting on the points and the air gap and everything on the coil, which was telling me that the coil's bad. It had a tiny little bit of spark and then it didn't. So I could have done two things. I could have bought an original coil for it and then put it back together with the Nova 2, or leave it maybe a little more original and just pick up a magneto coil for just a few more bucks. So I did that. So I got the new coil, and of course after you put one of these in, you don't need the points anymore. So the kit came with this little plug right there for the points, and actually another keyway, aluminum keyway for the flywheel. I guess they assumed you were going to lose the other one, or it was defective or something. But the keyway is actually good in this thing, so we'll run with it. So if I could do this quickly, I'll just set you up on a stand and let's swap this coil out and see if this little baby will pop. It's I don't know, it's probably about 7:30 or something on Thursday evening. Let me get this thing in the stand. I don't have the best stand in the world. Hang on, I might have to stare at the ceiling for a minute. Usually do this setup before. I'm not going to tell you how Mickey Mouse this is, because it really is Mickey Mouse. I do this with my smartphone, and I don't really have a very good gripper. Oh boy. Oh boy. How bad is the light? Pretty bad. What if the camera falls? Oh man. Well, it's not an earthquake if she goes down. Let me shut the door and see if that corrects the light. We're out in my solar shed, so we don't have the greatest amount of light in the world out here. If you want to see details on my solar shed, I have posted videos on that. Boy, they're just... Man, this is not going to be enough light to do much good by. Can I help out with my light? I I need to see this too. How about this? Come on. Work with me here. Work with me here. I don't know if that's going to do it. If it's not going to do it, we're going to abort this video here in a minute. Where can I set this? Come on, work with me. We've spent half the day getting the light figured out. Yeah, not too good, is it? Sorry, guys. Struggling for light here. Ooh, maybe that'll work. You can probably see that a little bit. Okay, well, we're going to run with that. Oh, I had my spark checker plugged into the coil. Let's unplug that. And unhook the jumper leads because we're not going to use the Nova 2. I'll save it for another project. Let's pull this coil off. This should be a quick little swap because the replacement coil with the magneto just has a ground wire so you can shut it off. Grounding it out obviously shuts it off, and that's all it has. I don't have a fuel tank on it right now. I have the fuel tank, I just don't have any connection to the carburetor. We're just going to try to see if she'll pop just on some starter fluid. And I'm sure that it will. I'm very confident that it will. If it's a failure, I won't post the video, so you're not even watching this if that's the case. So there's the old coil. Gunny sack. And here's the new one. I plugged the ground wire in. Wow, that thing's got a lead on it that won't quit. I can feed a V8 with that. I'll have to shorten that. That's fine. We'll do that another time here. Put the screws back in. Hey, good thing it does fit. This thing, what did it cost? $30, I think. So it's virtually the same price as just buying a replacement coil that needs points. I just don't know why you do it when you can put the magneto style in and eliminate the points forever. The first one I ever did like this was a 8-horse horizontal Briggs on a generator that I had, and I put the new coil with the magneto on it, and I pulled the rope on that thing, and it fired and ran, came right up to RPM immediately. Scared the heck out of me, I'm telling you. I was not expecting that. Especially something you've been fighting for a while to even make run, to have it start in half a pull. So I'm just eyeballing the air gap there. It might be just a little wide, but I'll bet she works. I'm just going to wrap this ground wire out of the way so it doesn't get caught in the flywheel. And this mile-long spark plug cable. I'm going to take my spark checker out and just connect it directly to the spark plug for now and see if this little girl is going to run for us. We're just going to shoot a little ether at it and give her a heck. Okay, baby. That wasn't what I was expecting, I gotta admit. There's a possibility I have a little too much air gap. Let me close it up just a little bit. Close it up just a little bit. Come on. Work with me. There was no instructions with this either. And if this doesn't work, we're going to take it off and flip it over, because I believe they have to go on a certain direction, and all I was doing is matching where the spark plug wire came out of. So when you set this, always run them by hand. Make sure it doesn't drag. Okay, no drag. Try again. I think we're going to turn it over. No, we're not. She's a runner. She's a runner. Outstanding. Let me see if I can find my little gas container. I should have been prepared for this, but I'm not. I gotta put a little bit of gas in here. And we'll shove a little down the carburetor hole there. Oh yeah. We'll give it a drink. There's not much in here. It's just a little motor. See if there's enough in there to make it do anything. Whoa. This baby's in gear or something. I think that was. That's wild. See the smoke? I wonder where that came from. Okay, try again. Bizarre. Come on. Well, what I think is going on, the guy said he took the carburetor apart and cleaned it. And my guess is, from what I've seen on the rest of this, missing screws and so forth, that that thing might be totally jacked up. But what I do know is the motor runs. We had it fired up. That is a very easy, cost-effective replacement for the stock coils. Just to go to that, like Magnetron makes one. I just call it a magneto coil, and eliminate the points forever. I've never actually had to replace one once I've replaced it once, and they just keep on trucking. The other option is, if your coil's good, to go to the Nova 2 ignition module, which also replaces the points, and it's about $20 or so for that module. Incidentally, I had a John Deere rear engine rider in here the other day that ran fine, and I thought, and it had an electronic ignition module on it, and I thought, let's try a Nova 2 just as a replacement. I thought, what if the John Deere module was bad? Could I replace it with this Nova 2? So I did, just for fun, and it ran just as good on the Nova 2 as it did on the John Deere, so that's a reasonable replacement. I kind of keep these on the shelf, so to speak, for my own little projects. So that's kind of it. We'll wrap this up for this little guy. I'll obviously got a little fine-tuning to do to get it to run properly. I think next I'll take the carburetor apart, see what this guy has actually done in there, and shorten up that spark plug lead that doesn't need to be a mile long. And just FYI, what's coming up while I open the door and get the exhaust out of here is that John Deere 111. That thing I picked it up for $100. It hit something and broke the crank. It's a 12 horse Briggs & Stratton IC engine, And 2 days ago, yesterday, I picked up two 12-horse Briggs & Stratton IC engines for $40 for the pair, and just had to go to the next town over and meet the guy yesterday, and I got those two. So I have a replacement engine for this one and for another project that's coming this fall, and I'll get that in as soon as I get this little guy running and operating, and get the motor out of it. The engine that I just bought doesn't have a starter on it. I'll pull that starter. It looks to be like a new replacement, and probably bench run the other motor. Probably do both engines while I'm at it, and make sure they're both decent, and then do a motor swap on that one and get it running. That one I'll probably just clean it up and resell it. This little guy, however, I like it. I have him a little crowded in here with my Ward's Gilson and my Snapper rear engine Forrest Gump mower. But I'll make room for this little guy. It doesn't take up much room. I gotta get rid of that. Anybody want an old walk-behind tractor? I have one, and I don't want it. It's taking up too much room. Okay, thanks for watching, commenting, and subscribing. We're on our way to success with this little guy, and we'll catch you later.